Good evening, dear friends. So, today's topic is interesting. The most important one might say, we haven't touched it with you. And finally, the time has come to talk about the spine, about the upper-lower spine structure, about its influence on our life, about how much it is unnoticed but quite substantial. And the main function is, of course, chewing, biting off food, grinding it for subsequent swallowing, digestion. The position of the jaw concerns many dentists. They, of course, many of them routinely attach importance to crooked teeth, missing teeth, and the position of the jaw. But there are things that really do matter. So, you might have seen, for example, such pictures where a man is drawn hunched over like this, and his jaw is shifted back like this. And on the contrary, such a straight one, and his jaw is forward. And dentists, they say, look, your posture depends on the position of your jaw. It doesn't depend, of course, on your jaw position from your jaw. On the contrary, when the position of the head changes, the position of the lower jaw changes relative to the upper one. For example, when the head moves forward, the lower jaw as if stays in its place. It doesn't catch up with the head that has moved forward and stays right here at the back. And on the contrary, if we have some kind of excessive bending here, then the jaw takes a forward position. And the most interesting thing, if the head is slightly tilted to the side, to the right, or to the left, the jaw will not open at the same angle under which the head is now located. It will also open downwards, and there will be an asymmetrical movement to the right and left. Why is this dangerous? First, since our high lower jaw joint is next to the ear, it can negatively affect hearing. In what way? Well, the close proximity of the joint itself and the auditory canal. When the chewing muscles are strained, besides the external chewing muscles, here we have a chewing muscle. This hanging muscle belongs to the chewing muscles. And here inside, here we have the wing-shaped muscle. That is, these are the same powerful chewing muscles as outside, but they are located here inside. And the tension of all these muscles, it can affect the movement not only of the joint itself, but also prevents the correct movement in the neck. And the noise in the ears. Sometimes it happens that it can be removed with the help of such a complex effect on the chewing muscles, the hanging, wing-shaped, and neck muscles, including the ladder muscles, the suboccipital muscles. And how does the jaw affect it in general? Look, on movement, including neck movement. Try to conduct such a test now. Pay attention during the turn when you turn your head. Here's your head, for example, and it turns like this to the right. It can turn to the left. And now pay attention. Does your jaw, this lower one, turn with your head? And at what point does it stop? So it will be like this. You start to turn your head, and the lower jaw, together with the upper one, it moves. And at some point it will stop. The turn will end at this point. This is the first violation that causes improper jaw movement. And how to deal with this, today we will determine with you. Second test. Start opening your mouth and see if it opens symmetrically or not. To determine exactly, you can even put, say, between your upper teeth, stick a toothpick, and between the lower ones. And you start to open your mouth. And look at these toothpicks, whether they move symmetrically or not. Sometimes it happens that it goes to one side or slightly to the other side. So, friends, what determines the position of the jaw? What muscles? We have a chewing muscle. Here it is, look. And the position of the jaw can be asymmetrical, slightly shifted to one side or the other. There will be a different muscle tone here. A shifted jaw to the right indicates better muscle development on the right side and worse development on the left. When moving to the right, it will be easier for the head to turn. because the position of the jaw corresponds to this rotation. Moving to the left, if it is shifted to the right, will hinder the position of the lower jaw. How to fix it? We'll figure it out right now. The opening will also be asymmetrical. That is, with the shortening and excessive tension of the muscles on one side, when opening the mouth, the jaw will slightly shift to this side. The same thing can happen when the head is slightly tilted to this side. The muscles can be the same with well-developed tones, yet the jaw may open asymmetrically. When it may even be unnoticeable that the head is tilted because it can compensate for this raised shoulder. It will still open slightly at an angle. So the second is the anterior and posterior position. The habitual anterior position is not as dangerous as the habitual posterior position. It's from the posterior position when the jaw is shifted back excessively that more problems tend to arise. Problems with hearing. Apparently, the position of this jaw perhaps puts pressure on the auditory canal. I don't know. I can't say. I haven't seen such connections described anywhere. But specifically this rear position of the jaw, if you remove it, very often patients note that their hearing has improved, and as if the noise also decreases from this. Here. And this is connected with the fact that the masseter muscle is primarily important here. The masseter muscle, it has a rear bundle. Well, you could say it can be divided into two parts. Here's the rear part and the front part. We won't divide it into three. We'll remove the middle, rear, front. Here, in the usual position of the jaw, when it's like this, we get such a jaw we have shifted here. In this way, such a jaw we have, right? Here it is. And it is usually clenched all the time because the movement back is accompanied by the tension of the chewing muscles. That is, here the teeth are clenched. Such people, they are used to the fact that even at rest, the teeth need to be constantly clenched. At the same time, tension arises in this part of the temporal muscle, the back part of the temporal muscle, and the chewing muscle is always tense. This part of the temporal and chewing muscles are constantly under tension. In the reverse position of the jaw, when it is slightly forward, here, on the contrary, the front part is better developed. But overall, there is no particular harm from this. And here, this front part, it can be quite strongly atrophied. That is, it is not developed at all. Here, the front part of the cheek muscle is very weak. It even happens that it is not palpable. So, what to do now with this? Firstly, for starters, you need to learn to change the position of the jaw, learn to move it forward and backward. You can do this exercise while lying down for the first time. It will be more comfortable. That is, you lie down, for example. You can also do it standing. It's just clearer when lying down. Here's how you do it while lying down. So you're lying on your back, and your task is to lift your lower body and torso. By moving your jaw, in general, push your jaw forward, so that your teeth. So the incisors on the lower jaw the front teeth turned out to be in front of the upper jaw's front teeth. Pushed it out, held it for a second and back. Pushed it forward again and back. Once more forward and back. Don't do anything abruptly so that nothing hurts anywhere. Accurately, smoothly, made the movement and back. We learn to do it while lying down because it's easier to learn lying down. Up, down, and forward-backward directions can be confusing. And try to do the same thing now while sitting. Pushed forward and back to your usual place. Forward and back to your place. This is the first exercise. The second pushed the jaw forward. And now, in this forward position, open your mouth. Opened and closed. Opened and closed, maintaining this forward position. That is, at the moment when the mouth opens, the jaw should move slightly forward by itself. Some people who have a problem with limited jaw mobility, during the opening of the mouth, it retains this backward position and cannot fully open. So, this is a simple exercise for mobility so that you learn to move the jaw itself. And the second thing now is if you've noticed that your teeth are constantly clenched, your muscles are tense. Understandable. You can constantly massage them, right? But this habit of yours to keep the tension, it will call again. To keep the jaw closed, it will call again the tension in these muscles. What to do to prevent this from happening? You can wear a mouth guard. There are special ones. They are worn. But there is a way, a free way. Look, take your tongue and clamp the tip of your tongue between your front teeth. Here are your front teeth right here. Just between them, you need to clamp the tip of your tongue. So your jaw will take such a position that the distance between the teeth will be just right and nothing will be clamped at the same time. That is, you have clamped your tongue tip between your front teeth and try to walk around. Spend some time in this position when you don't need to talk. Gradually, your jaw will get used to this position. You will get used to the fact that you don't need to clench your teeth, that it can be in such a relaxed state. Nothing will happen, nothing scary. It won't fall off. You don't need to constantly keep it tense. So that's the way. Next, how to make it so that your jaw starts moving again with your neck so it doesn't interfere with the turn. Look, for this you take a pencil or a pen. Better a pencil so it's soft. You need to hold the pencil between your teeth. First from one side with these same chewing teeth of yours. There. You've clamped it here. On the right, there is also on the left. There. When you clamp it, your jaw shifts slightly over here, see? There. And after you've clamped, you start turning your head to this same side. That is, I clamped with my left teeth and turned my head to this side. In doing so, you need to make sure that your hand and pencil move parallel to the floor. So there's no movement slightly down, slightly up. In this way, your jaw, it gets used to the fact that at the moment of turning, it should not move in the opposite direction. That is, in life, you will not have such a thing later, because when you turn your head, your jaw will move so strongly. But at the same time, your muscles on the other side will not tense up. That is, it forms a certain sequence of muscle activation. Look at how it looks here. Incorrectly how it will be. Look, here is the correct way first. It turns out half and half in parallel. Incorrectly. Down, here, or up. Well, hardly up. Down, here. You need to learn to half parallel first. And pay attention, then remove this handle. What if you turn your head and your face will also turn with your head? Then the turn will be better. If she lags behind, the head will immediately tilt. The muscles will not work properly in general. The same thing to one side to the other side. So you took it, made it, and now you are turning it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you will have such morning gymnastics. Here. And after this, pay attention so that during the turns your torso, it also made a slight movement. That is, this movement coincided with the turn of the head. So, friends, that's how it is. Well, that's it. And everything was leading up to this. Well, we've talked about the torso. If you liked it in more detail, we just briefly went over all of this. If you're interested in the topic, let's reflect your interest in the comments. And we can also discuss it in more detail once again. Well,